California Free Radio. I'm Mike Netter, accompanied as always by Scott Piotr and Kurt most of the time. Say hi, boys.
Hey,
Hi,
guys.
everybody.
We're going to start with my opening rant here, but I want to remind you we are blasting this out on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Netter Mike, at TaxFighter7. I'll be putting it up on communities in just a few minutes on LinkedIn. If you have a job, which means you're probably not a Democrat, it's under my real name. And on Facebook, thanks to Stephanie and the sharing team, it's on Mike Netter, flowing out to the Rebuild California groups and all the other ones that are out there. And if you don't happen to have any of those social medias, well, you're probably not seeing this, but you can go to YouTube and go to our Outrage channel, which hopefully our show ticks you off enough to do something. Tonight, we've got an extremely special guest, but before we get into that and set the stage, as we say, let's talk a little bit about the week in California. And I'm going to cuss a little bit, and I apologize. So hide the women, hide the women, but hide the small children, pets, anything else within earshot. I'm going to say it. Now, what I say may be offensive to many of you, but to people like Dunkin' Donuts, it's music to their ears. Katie Porter. Yes, indeed, I said it. If you had not seen, if you've been in a rat hole somewhere, been traveling, or watching reruns of NCIS the last 3 or 4 days, you haven't seen the Katie Porter meltdown. And I apologize for the really bad visual as I say that. But the reality is Katie Porter, who was running for governor of California, had a meltdown on CBS, CBS interview. And later on in the show, we're going to be showing some cuts of that. But what I also, oh my God. Well, at least she's got a mask on, Scott.
That's one of her better pictures. I just want you to know that.
There are no better pictures.
I wonder why her hands are like that, by the way.
I think she should always be wearing a mask. It makes it easier for all of us.
I've heard that's how she walks in to the donut store and goes, hands up, give me a dozen. And I can't resist it. I know that's kind of rude. Not that I really give a damn.
Yeah, she's not exactly Hollywood material that's going to be representing California.
On a couple other notes, we're going to be talking about the LA fires later on, too. They've arrested somebody this week in a story which, in my not so humble opinion, got underreported, got really reported in Netter News this morning. Kurt, you read Netter News this morning, right?
Everyone reads Netter News every week, Mike.
Indeed they do, and you'll see a lot of what we put in the hidden story that I think lies beneath on the disasters which Los Angeles is kind of, let's say, hiding with Brian Williams, who got a late sentence this week, but I got a lot of questions, and we're going to get into that later in the show. But what I really want to focus on before we bring on our guest, the chairman, as she calls herself, which she is, of the Los Angeles Republican parties, let's be really clear on a couple things. Republicans are not only winning nationwide, hey, look at the guy that's president of the United States. We're actually starting to really make inroads in California to grab our state back. Scott, can you put up that graphic that I actually saw tonight? And you're out there, didn't have a stroke. This graphic actually appeared on ABC7 in Los Angeles. It's grown so big, they had to report it. Let's look at LA, where just in the last reporting period, the Republicans, almost 3-1 negative for the Democrats. People are catching on. And we've got a chart from an analyst of all the counties. Almost none of the counties, and Orange County is already pretty red, have a negative Republican pickup. Many have a negative Democratic pickup. Before you get too excited there, we have to make sure that we pass the word to everyone who doesn't seem to know what's going on. Scott and Kurt, Scott, you've heard the story. I want to open the show tonight with a little bit of a story that's so hilarious you won't believe it. And so all of you know out there, I'm really big on social media. And this last week on a lark, I joined a group called Gavin Newsom for President. Yes, indeed, Gavin Newsom for President 2028. Oh my God, you're just going to keep frightening off our viewers with these pictures. But let's roll with this. I couldn't help myself, and a couple days later started posting no on 50 and a few things, and posted a story in this group which has about 76,000 people in it, 25,000 active, obviously mostly liberals and Democrats at any given time. And I'm posting no on 50, and a couple people jump in, and then more people jump in and pile in. Who are you? Who are you dare posting in this group against King Gavin? And then a couple days later, I post a story for those of you not aware of, which was featured in Netter News this morning, which Kurt, you did read, right?
Everyone reads Netter News, Mike.
See, Kurt's very well trained. I like this. That talked about Gavin Newsom didn't sign the raises for the Cal Fire people that basically save our posteriors, beep, 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 because we didn't have the money, which would cost about 250 to 300 million a year. Of course, we
Like
have
the amount
one.
of the special election. How convenient.
Well, Kurt, I could tell you went to USC. You must have 5 or 6 degrees. Exactly. But it's funny. No, you know what's interesting, gents? The Democrats in the group called me a liar. They called it fake news. They called me a fascist. They put up a picture in the group and said, "Who's this Netter guy? Oh, he's one of the guys that started the recall. He's a liar." Right? This isn't real news. And then I actually put up the Secretary of State letter of veto from Gavin Newsom. They go, "That's fake, fake, fake. You made it up." Now, here's the punchline. What we have to get, as I say all the time, to the people that haven't made up their mind yet. You, Kurt, you ready for the punchline on this?
I'm ready.
This group has been about 9 months old. It's got 75,000 people in it. The group is Gavin Newsom. I think I sent you a screenshot. Scott, if you have it, great. If not, I'll talk through it. Gavin Newsom for president 2028. Do you have it or not?
No.
Don't worry. Okay. Newsom is spelled Newsome. Now, for those of you out there going, "Foul, I went to public school," Newsom's name doesn't have an E on the end. And after 9 months of all them jumping on fake news, literally, I've gone up and down the group. No one noticed that Newsom's name at the top of the group is misspelled. Now, that's
Their hero?
Pardon?
Their hero?
Their hero. They're all jumping on, Gavin can't be wrong. We believe Gavin. We're voting with Gavin, Gavin, Gavin. But other people have started to chime in a bit and started to go, wait a minute. Now that you've spoken up, and a lot of neighborhood groups that I'm in where I dare not speak up, notice Newsom, no E on the end. And you would think 78,000 Gavin Newsom fans would notice this.
At least somebody.
Not a comment. Finally, someone today said, "Hey, it'd be great if his name was spelled right at the top of the list." Finally, after being in the group for a week, 2 weeks, it's the first comment that I've seen. Gentlemen, what does this tell you about the people that are liberal on social media?
They're members of a cult.
They have a very short attention span. They can't spell.
A little bit of all, doesn't it? Not only the members of a cult, and I'm going to actually run with what Kurt said, and they can't spell. That may be the fault of the public school system. Let's just run with that. But it's scary to me how they simply say that what is a blatant, pretty much a fact. Gavin didn't sign this bill. I didn't argue with why Gavin didn't sign bill. They don't believe it. And they believe simply what someone puts out there. This is why it is so critically important that we drum up business, as we say, to vote no on 50. Scott, bring in our guest, if you will.
Will do. Welcome,
Whoa.
Roxanne.
We have Roxanne Hogan tonight? I didn't know that. Roxanne, hi. Welcome to California Free Radio. You surprised me. Not really. I knew this, of course. I'm not going quite as senile as I
seem to be having a little bit of a connection problem. I hope you guys can hear me.
We can. We can hear you loud and clear.
Breaking news, Roxanne. The Los Angeles Dodgers walked off Philadelphia and won the division series.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Everybody's going crazy.
Roxanne, you are breaking up just a little bit, but we'll get a bit started here. Roxanne lost her connection. She just texted me. She'll be back on in a few minutes. I think what's
All right,
important to
turn down the
know.
TV, Kurt. We don't need to hear that.
We'll go
Kurt
ahead.
can't help himself. Diehard Dodger fan.
So let's, Kirk, could you turn that down just a little bit? It sounds like people cheering for Gavin. And I get it. The Dodgers are on the team.
So we
John,
lost
everyone
Kurt.
can hear you all across the world. Quiet, quiet.
Well,
Couple things
here
there.
is better.
Yes, a couple things there I really want to make note of. It's really important to note that most people won't know there's an election going on with 50. They just simply won't. Roxanne's having trouble logging back on. We will wait for her to arrive. They simply won't. It's our job to make them aware. No on 50. It's not very complicated. It looks like Roxanne is vaguely returning, blacked out possibly by the Democrats that run big tech. Not actually. She's just having one of those problems. I don't want to start any conspiracy theories, but she can't hear us now. Scott and Kurt entertain the audience for a couple seconds, and I'm going to do some magic here.
Well, Mike talked about the Palisades arsonist. His name is Jonathan Rickernet. And Scott, he donated to the Biden-Harris campaign and posted anti-Trump stuff, blaming wildfires on climate change.
Well, of course. This is one of the chat GBT searches that he did prior to his arson campaign. And yeah, he's not a very healthy guy. Are you there, Roxanne? I see. We see you, but we don't hear you. You got no volume right now. So Roxanne is the chairman of the LA Republican Party. As you saw with some of the graphics that we had, Republican Party is actually growing in LA, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fires. Don't you think, Kurt? The handling of the fires. First of all, they screwed up. Roxanne's holding up her "No on Prop 50" sign. She sits there. They sit there and they are negligent as far as keeping or preventing fires from starting or spreading very far. And then once they did start, they were incompetent as far as being able to put them out. And and so, I sit there and I've got a project up in the Pacific Palisades right now. And the people there, which are, mostly liberal Democrats, they are ticked. They are not happy campers, and they feel like they've been betrayed. Longtime supporters, guys that would write checks to the Democrat Party, they feel that not only have they been ignored, but they've been sabotaged. They're not happy. So it's almost like the numbers that you see in the transferring of Democrats and the Democratic registration going down is probably these voters in a lot of ways just kind of like, we're not Democrats anymore. These guys are incompetent boobs. Which is one of the nice things about Roxanne, if we can get her back on, is that the LA Republican Party still represents 1 million Republicans in the county of LA.
Well,
that's
Scott, I
about
grew
the
up
same
in
number as
Los
Orange County.
Angeles, as our listeners know, if they've listened a long time, including our radio days. And Los Angeles has always had a lot of Republicans by the numbers. It's just a question of what is the percentage. And with the 17,000 homes being destroyed in the Palisades, some of those hardcore Democrat voters have left the area. So even if they haven't seen the light to convert to Republican, they just don't live there anymore.
Right. Well, face it, you drive through there and they like to brag, meaning Newsom, likes to brag about how in record time they cleaned up all of the fire debris. It's like, okay,
No.
let me. A, it wasn't record time. B, all they did is clean up the burnt up trash. They haven't rebuilt.
Well, wait a minute, Scott. Isn't that the Trump administration that came in to do that environmental work?
Right. Most of the work was done by the Corps of Engineers or private contractors. The state had nothing to do about any of that. All right. Let me see if I can get Roxanne on again.
Yeah, while we're waiting to get
Roxanne.
Roxanne back on here, who we're trying desperately to. Roxanne,
Hi, how are you?
good. We have you. We look like you're witness protection. Larry's actually making some good comments,
sorry,
and as you
guys.
get oriented here. You're
So,
freezing
Roxanne,
up a
introduce
bit.
yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, tell us a little about you and the LA Republican Party.
Yes.
Wow,
your face
the
is here.
Democrats really
Your
pulled a
face.
number on us tonight. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's Trump's fault.
So the video is a little spotty, but
We can hear you.
spotty, but the audio is pretty good. So go ahead.
We'll do it like a radio show.
Yeah. So go ahead and talk.
I'm sorry.
Roxanne. It's all yours.
This is absolutely the fault of Donald Trump. Everything else is his fault, and this clearly is yet another dastardly move by Orange Man Bad.
Well, everybody else blames Trump. Why not, the internet gremlins?
Yes, it's the
So what's
new dog
happening
ate
in
my
the LA
homework.
County Republican Party?
Well, it's the perfect time to explain that the chairmanship of the LA County Republican Party is a free job. You don't get paid, so that's what you end up with. You get what you pay for.
Oh, so you're in it for the big bucks then?
Yes, and the personal recognition. It's really super.
And if they doubled her pay, she'd still make the same.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm aiming for double pay this year. I'm really hoping to get that bonus.
Roxanne,
So
we want to go ahead.
How did you get roped in to being the chairman of the party?
Have you ever been to a Renaissance fair where they play that very old game where people they get you to step into a circle and then someone steps out and you're trapped in the circle and you can't leave until you get someone else to step in?
So it sounds like musical chairs.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. I was assisting as a volunteer, our previous chairman. He moved to North Carolina like so many sane people, and I had taken on the role of communications chairman, ironically, because my internet doesn't work, as a volunteer. And I just thought it was really important because my family already fled a country. I don't want to flee another one. I don't want to lose a home to democratic socialism, which, as we all know and have noticed, it's basically mob rule at the tip of a spear and the point of a gun. And so I thought it was important that I stay and stand and fight because I have 4 adult children who I would like to be able to have them live here, not in my house, but here, in Southern California.
So what's your vision for the party for LA County?
My vision for the party is really it's bound inextricably with my vision for Los Angeles. Because we have one party rule, we have filthy streets, rampant crime, unbelievable high cost. As a friend of mine says, we pay 5-star prices and get half-star service. I would like LA to be livable, just livable. We know it's La La Land. We know it's not going to be like Peoria. It's always going to be a little wacky. It's always going to be the home of the industry and of dreams. And we should have sane governance. And by the way, we have that wherever you have a Republican run city council. So LA County has 88 cities in it. The biggest of them all, of course, is the city of Los Angeles. But many other communities like Covina, we have Glendora, we have Pasadena, we have Westminster, we have Downey. If you aren't stepping over dead and dying bodies of poor broken souls, you just may be in a Republican run area.
Yeah, it didn't used to be that way though. When I was a kid in the San Fernando Valley, we saw LAPD twice in Encino in 12 years. My high school, Taft High School, zero crime. A lot of LA Dodger players lived near around there. Now there's home invasion robberies and murders near the Jackson home in Encino and in Woodland Hills. It's shocking.
By the way, you still only see LAPD twice because they don't come when you call. I'm kidding. They're lovely.
Well, you
There's
didn't need
just
them
not
back
enough
No,
then.
of
you're
them.
not. Hold on. That's actually an interesting point. Be funny as we're being on this here, and you're getting a lot of good kudos in our comments flowing. Remember, everybody out there on social media, which I'm sharing, and I'm actually surprised the number of people watching the show. Roxanne, it's good to have, shall we say, your looks offsetting our three mugs. Is that a polite way to put it? Still politically correct? It is interesting because in Los Angeles, what the show tonight is about, right? The police are underfunded. Alex Villanueva, who's running for sheriff, complained a lot about the fact that we're down like 1,000 deputies right now, and I've actually featured this in my Netter News about a month and a half ago, and I have other reporters writing a story right now. When you call 911 and it happens to be October, they may not show up till next September 11th because the time for them to answer the phone is incredibly long. We have a problem in that the Democrats are supposed to be, quote, watching the store in Los Angeles, apparently are in the back doing something, not, shall we say, patrolling the aisles of LA. Give us some feedback on that because remember, most people, they just know when something happens, it goes wrong. They know that there's homeless on the street. They know that crime is high because they see it. But at the end, there's our worst rankings. We show every show, but they don't know exactly what's going on. Tell us how Los Angeles Republican Party, what are you doing out there to obviously, like we see that Democrats are dropping off, Republicans are coming in. This isn't about Republican versus Democrat. It's about Los Angeles survival. Tell us how the party's constructed in assembly districts, et cetera, because I wasn't aware of it until I started the recall. Back to you, Roxanne.
No, and the structure is you have to think of it almost like as if we Republicans, we conservatives, we are, let's call it a car brand, right? We're Ford, and there's the corporate overall operation, and then there's the state level and the county level, and so on going down. Now, each assembly district is. Some people don't even know we have an assembly. It's basically
I could
the
say, go
equivalent to
into town.
Congress, but right. So start with the basics. Travis Allen, when he was running for governor, he would say, I'm a state assemblyman, and people would say, "Oh, what do you assemble?" Thinking he worked at IKEA. The assembly is analogous to our U.S. House, and then of course we have state senators. So there are 120 of those folks, 80 assembly, 40 senators, and Los Angeles County has fully almost a quarter of the representatives in the state of California. So Los Angeles County Republican Party, with over 1 million registered Republicans, actually is the largest Republican county central committee in the entire country. Number two, not even close. I think it's Chicago, and then it's and then it's San Diego is number three, and even they are way behind us. LA has over 6 million registered voters, and so we're just a million of that. The good news is, as you pointed out, Democrat numbers are dropping. I say it's because every time someone is mugged, a new conservative gets their wings, and voila, someone realizes that the party in power doesn't actually care about public safety, which is job number one of elected officials. In LA County, there are 24 assembly districts and 13 state Senate districts. But guess what? Those aren't the important offices. I mean, we like them and we love them and all that good stuff, and everyone knows what they are. There are over 1,000 elected offices in LA County. So I want to return the party to the basics of finding people and supporting people and fielding people in those races. city council, school board, water abatement board, mosquito abatement. I mean, they got an office for everything, dog catcher. And that is what the farm team is of politics. The problem is with our beloved Republican friends is that everybody thinks that God has told them to run for governor or for Congress because it's the two offices they've heard of. Well, what Democrats do that's a little bit on the collectivist side, but they do it well, is say, "Huh, sure, you want a gun for governor. You're going to start at water board, and they build a farm team. You're a baseball player, Mike. You know, you start in AAA ball, then single up, and then one day you get called up to the bigs. And it is really important that we do that as Republicans.
Let's also talk about something else too, and that's one of the things about 50. And I want everybody to hear very clearly what we've kind of known for years. Okay, when you know what? I'm going to stop 1 second before we get there because I want to run something to sink my next point home. Scott, could you run that video with the English guy on
it? Oh, that interview.
Yes, the Steve Hilton, because I want this point to sink home. This isn't a Steve Hilton endorsement.
He's just set a new definition for.
That's not Steve Hilton.
Okay.
No, it's not.
I know, it's just,
Steve would be very unhappy if he looked like that.
Hold on.
His voice from heaven. All right, listen up.
He's just set a new definition for car crash interview. Obviously, it's crazy, it's calamitous for her. But there's a broader point here, and it's what you touched on, which is the Democrats, especially in California, they've become so arrogant. This is the arrogance of one-party rule. 15 years now of one-party rule. They assume they're never going to get a challenge, that they're going to keep, they're going to stay in power forever. They've completely destroyed and wrecked this state on every single measure. We have the highest unemployment rate, highest poverty rate, highest cost for everything that matters. And when they are pressed on it, they literally resent even being asked because they are so arrogant and entitled. They're going to get a shock next year because I'm very confident that I'm going to beat them come next November.
Now, let me roll to why I think that's important. I think the part, Roxanne, I want to drive this home for everybody out there because the reality is, Scott, could you take Porter off the screen? My computer screen is actually starting to melt. And I don't want to have to get a new CPU in the middle of the show. Roxanne, what I want to ask you about this, which I don't think is really, because most people, you and me included, before I started the recall, before we get our information from the mainstream press, and we hear constantly, oh, it's a 60-40 state. There's 60% Democrats, and, it's 40% Republicans, maybe less. And Republicans tend to get deflated. Here's my point about the Katie Porter interview. I really wanted your feedback, and I think Hilton, I thought, made fairly well. For everyone out there, be aware of something. And this is the part about Prop 50, which just chaps my high. Statewide in California, there are approximately 21 million voters. Laura, my analyst is online and she'll correct me. Only about 42% are registered Democrats. I want you to hear that very loud and very clear. Yes, indeed, the Republicans have about a 30% share or so, but 30% are other people, NPPs, AIPs, Libertarians, and many other scattered parties, including, I'll be happy to say, I've started the Netter Party, which now has, I'm the chairman and certainly the only sole member of, not officially out that I'm working on. So there's a lot of people out there. It's not just Republicans versus Democrats. And this, Roxanne, I want to drive home before I get your feedback on it. Katie Porter, in that interview, as a typical establishment liberal feeling entitled, the question in the CBS interview that we're going to show after we let Roxanne go, because she's seen it a million times, the question was, well, a huge chunk of people in the state voted for Donald Trump or aren't. How are you going to get their vote? And she was like, I really don't give a damn. I can win without them. Hand me the sugar-coated, please. And my point is, what she really was saying, and it appalls me that the Democrats have become this arrogant, especially in Los Angeles. I'm not even pretending to be mayor of Los Angeles of everybody anymore. I'm not even going to pretend to be that I'm going to run for governor of all the people. This is, I think, the biggest problem that we have. They feel they are so entitled with power. And in Los Angeles, where I reside, along with you, not in the city itself, not on Skid Row, not yet. Give me some feedback on
And
that.
not together, just to be clear.
Yes, and not
We
together.
don't
Right,
reside
correct.
together.
That's why our backgrounds are different, right? But we have to get the million Republicans out to vote because your vote is so important. The Democrats are stuck. It's not the Democrats. It's the group of elitists like Mayor Bass, and I hate saying that word, okay? Just the mayor part with Bass. And these people like Newsom with Prop 50 that are just trying to stomp on our rights, thinking that they're going to extinguish not even just the Republicans, but the rights of most people in the state to have any representation at all. Give me feedback and tell me how the Los Angeles Republican
They
Party
don't
can do that.
they don't care because they don't need the people at all. Not the moderate Democrats, not classic liberals, not independents, when they have what is horrifyingly referred to as the third house in Sacramento. They have public sector unions and special interests, and all these people do is act as, and I'll use my visual aid, that's why we have the puppets, because they're being used by these puppet masters in Sacramento and the public sector unions, and they do their bidding. They don't need votes from regular people. The public sector unions spend billions with a B on electing whoever they want to be elected, their leaders say and they get taxpayer funded time off to go work on elections. They print out, here's who to vote for, ballot guides, and it all the very useful idiots, for lack of a better term, say, oh well, vote blue no matter who.
And
It
you
doesn't make
already
sense.
got it. Yeah, less than 10% of local races, which is kind of the breeding ground. And look, we're all at fault here, the four hosts on the show, starting tonight,
Well,
because we
I
didn't
do
pay.
want to I want to take issue with that. There's 1,100 offices in LA County. Only 54 of them actually say R or D on the ballot. There are plenty of people out there, and again, you can tell because they don't advocate to let people die on the streets or for criminals to get away with murder. They may not have the R, but anyone who believes in public safety, pretty much at this point, is a total right winger. So
But
I'm not going to
here's
say that
my
less than 10% are
no, but
Republicans. You don't know.
here's my thing. They have to get loud. Okay. People could, it amazes me. Like, look, again, I ain't no spring chicken, whatever the hell that means. We know what that means. He's old. Okay.
You're
I don't
vintage.
remember. Yes, vintage is a good way to put it. I don't remember.
I prefer classic.
Let's put it this way. Every time I go in an antique store, they make an offer on me. Anyway, what I don't understand is where it became okay in Los Angeles for people to say, well, this is what we're trying to change. This is what you're trying to change. I'm afraid to say I'm a Republican. It's a nonpartisan race. I get it. That's by decree. But I can get up and scream that I'm a socialist. Hi, I'm a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. It's a nonpartisan race. See my Chinese flag. See the sickle in the corner. Have you looked at the little red book and run for office? Where the majority of people, to your point, this is why Prop 36 passed. Criminals don't like getting shot. They're like, hey, we're good, man. You can put us in jail. We don't want to get shot anymore. So what we have to do, what you're doing, and I want to get into Prop 52, is band together these million people, which are registered Republicans, which are growing, you don't have to register in silence. Somewhere along the line, and I don't know where that is, what used to be the cult of the communists meeting in the back room became okay to shout on mainstream, and the Republicans kind of became the thing. It's like, dude, what are you? Don't tell anybody, okay?
Well, so to be fair, we are polite and have good manners and often jobs and families. And all of us were probably taught that it is impolite to screech at other people and to talk about politics and how much money you earned and various other topics. And those days are over. The Democrats have been totally taken over by the DSA, as you say. Whenever you see a rose, that's a DSA symbol. But around the same time that we were busy being polite and Democrats started to shout their abortions, and we had, by the way, Republican governance in LA as recently as, well, before I got married. Now I've been married 100 years, so actually maybe not so. It was Richard Riordan was our mayor,
I'm sorry
and
to break
LA
this
was
to
a
you,
super,
Roxanne.
right?
What seems recent to you and me was literally my kids would be retired by now as to our memories, and my kids are, you get the
Yeah,
drift. Go
yeah,
on, back
I
to
get
you.
it. Anyway, the point is that two things happened at the same time. So busy being polite, living our lives, raising our kids, and thinking, as I did, and I used to be a classic liberal, that government, people who went into public service were doing so with a servant's heart and had our best interests in mind. And that blew up with the porculus and the TARP and the Tea Party movement. That was mind-blowing for many of us. And it was then, not when Donald Trump came on the scene, but when we realized, whoa, we're no longer in a high trust society. And I said this after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Just like, and I'll get serious for a second, just like September 11th was a reason for many Westerners that Islam had been at war with us and we had not noticed. Charlie Kirk's assassination was a wake-up call that the left has been at war with us. They think our speech is violence and their violence is speech. And it is no mistake that they've been doing that. People love to talk about, oh, our colleges and higher education has been taken over. Sorry, Charlie. Oh, not this Charlie, but like this has been high school. The indoctrination has been happening in high school for decades. And I know because I'm old and I have kids who are in high school and at our best high schools, our most elite high schools. This has been a long time coming, and we were slow to notice it. And why LA suffered more than anywhere else is the rest of the country loves to say, oh, forget California. We don't put any money in California. Go to LA, collect money for your campaign, and then head back to your red state where you'll be safe. Well, you won't be safe because guess what? All of Gavin Newsom and the Democrats' terrible, horrible, no good, bad ideas, they get baked in the cake. So when there's ridiculous restrictions and requirements for textbooks and for education, you're going to get those in your red state of Georgia, in your red state of Iowa, in your red state of Texas, because textbook publishers are sure that the sexual proclivities of Abraham Lincoln make it into American history because otherwise they can't sell those books in California. And then they're going to export those books to the rest of the country. But Republicans kept giving up territory. They gave up entertainment, they gave up culture. Both of those things centered where? Los Angeles, California. And they gave up California. And only now they've realized, oh, holy crap, they're at war with us. They don't want us to exist at all. Who looks around Los Angeles or San Francisco or Oakland and says, you know what the problem is here? Too many Republicans. Only
Well,
Gavin Newsom and the Democrats.
let's talk about what Prop 50 is and what people can do to get involved. I always say my point of the opening story, which you may have not heard, I've told you this offline about the Gavin Newsom for president, right? Which is misspelled in the group, and the
Mm.
cult all jumping at me because obviously I'm a fascist and all these other things. You could tell, okay? Is that we have a problem in that many of these people are blindly voting yes for Prop 50. And I'm not even going to defend most of them, but the reality is Gavin Newsom is not that stupid. Or I may rephrase that. He's surrounded by people that aren't that stupid, okay? Because he's picked an issue that is relatively complicated. For most people, it's once every 10 years you even know what redistricting is, right?
They don't.
And they're pushing, right, Stephanie? They're pushing conditioning, by the way. Shout out to Larry. We do recruit Republican retirees. We did that during the recall. And speaking of that, we want to recruit people right now in Los Angeles to get the word out why a no on 50 is important. Because I was really scared by one thing, besides the pictures of Katie Porter and Gavin Newsom. And Scott, if you put a picture in together, I'm quitting the show. And by what people don't know about this. They're just blindly voting because Gavin has said so on TV about Texas. What are we going to do in Los Angeles, which has 1 out of 4 voters? Tell us what you're doing. There's a lot of events I'm posting. Again,
Yeah.
we're
So the
rolling
most important thing for us to do is to get out the vote and get out the word to other. How do you do that? How do you find other Republicans? You go to lagop.org. ORG. There is a way there to sign up to volunteer. You can join one of the canvassing operations that are happening this weekend and will be happening every weekend with a very simple, it's not, I'll say an app, it's a platform. It works on your browser. You open it up, you look, you enable geolocation, you look, you're like, look, there's a blue dot. That's a Republican household. Oh, please take that picture off. That woman should not be allowed to run for office and represent the gorgeous people of Southern California when she doesn't even know how to buy a pair of Spanx. Like that alone is disqualifying. Sorry. I
Okay,
digress.
Roxanne, you know I love you very much, but please try to never use the word Porter and Spanx in the same sentence again, okay? You've just probably taken 3 years off my life, and I really don't have that long to go. So back to you.
So we need people say like, oh, we should have rallies and do things on overpasses. No, it is a special election. This is where Republicans excel. Oh my God, I just made the white power said, okay. Oh no, I'm a white. This is terrible. The truth is that only that we have 25 days to knock on doors, make calls. You know who of your friends are sane. Talk to the sane ones. Don't remind the insane people that there is an election. Let them just keep that quiet. The fact is that we have to turn in our ballots now, not, oh, I'm going to wait till November 4th. Right now, you have this somewhere in your house. It may be still in the bottom of your mailbox. It is time to get it, open it, put no, and send it back in. By the way, don't get all worked up about the holes. Our ballots always have holes in them. If you can see something through, turn it around, get over yourselves, people. The important thing is turn in your ballot because as soon as you do that, you drop off the list of people who are going to be harassed by text, by mail, by phone, everything. So I think if you hate being annoyed, turn in your ballot now.
Well, I like, Roxanne, and Prop 36 was on the ballot in November of 24. Even though we have a very Democrat state, it won by like 63-40 or 37.
70.
I mean,
It
it was
was
almost
70
a 2 to
30.
1.
Yeah.
70%, Scott.
70%. And so when it comes to issues and there's no R or D after people's names or issues, the electorate can be pretty conservative. I mean, nobody likes crime, and the liberals do. The liberals go out there and protect. Newsom goes out and protects criminals rather than incarcerate them, and the people want them incarcerated. So it's the same thing here. I look at it in Prop 50 is that people want fair and honest elections, and Newsom doesn't. Newsom wants to rig the elections. He wants to have his politicians pick the voters rather than having the voters pick the politicians. It's not right, and I think people stand
100%.
up.
Well, hold
Yeah,
on.
the
stop
one
before-
problem, the one challenge we have is the title and summary that comes from the terrible AG, and so that's why we have to let people know, no, no, no. Yes, Mike.
Yes, and that's a point I want to drive home. Got to understand a couple things. By the way, for everybody out there, and again, I'm in massive social media. I plan on going to the Betty
And
Ford.
you're so humble. You're
Yes,
so
I
humble.
am very
It's
humble
amazing.
about the number of people that do that. Every time Roxanne sees me,
It comes naturally to Mike.
Yes, exactly. Don't worry. Or Satchel Paige says, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. It ain't bragging if you can do it. So I'll leave it at that. But this is really a simple election, okay? I get it. We're going to have school choice, voter ID on the ballot next time. Many things are complex. Can I give you the simple thing? It's very easy. Vote now. Okay, you don't have to read it. Here's the bottom line. Vote now. Okay, if you're questioning, if Gavin Newsom says anything, I don't care if he tells you to go to the store and pick up a free pile of money. Say no. If any politician in California who's a Democrat tells you to do something, even if you are a Democrat, and I know a lot of them are on my feeds, don't agree with them. Okay? Can I sum up, and I want you to tell me, Roxanne, if I'm right or wrong on this. Let me explain simply. Way back when, remember, the older I get, the better looking I was. When I was a young man in 2011, in junior high, okay, not exactly, but 2011 or thereabouts, Californians voted twice. Twice. I'm going to say that again. We voted twice for the state legislature and for congressional seats to take away from the power of what's known as gerrymandering, which is basically rigging, okay, for politicians to draw their own lines so they could get elected. Now, this is going to be a shock to people like Roxanne and Scott, Kurt, my co-host here tonight, that when you give the Democratic politicians with a supermajority a chance to draw their own sales territories, they're going to beat quota every time because they're making their own lines. It's that simple. Californians voted to put an independent commission to do that. We, the people, just like we voted against getting shit, okay, which we called Prop 36. Gavin Newsom is now using, yes, indeed, I love CD3, Kevin Kiley's seat, which looks a little bit like something out of Dumbo from Disney, but we'll put that down for 1 second. Gavin Newsom is using an excuse of Texas, and this thing about Texas, it's a different state, to override the rule of the people. Roxanne, I want to make this really clear, and I want to go back to interviewing you here. When I started the recall of Gavin with Orrin Heatley and my crew, some of who are online here tonight, you know one thing that really ticked me off? What actually is my precipitating event? That's your cue to ask what Roxanne, you should know this.
What? I was going to be quiet and just give you the quizzical,
Well, you did well, but let's just go what? Let's just roll with it. Take two. Roxanne, do you know when I started the recall of Gavin with Orrin Heatley, one of the things which was the precipitating event for me?
No, what was it, Mike?
I give up. What was it, Mike?
It was that twice the people of California, right, left, green, tall, short, had voted to keep the death penalty. We put it on the ballot, and twice we voted to say that if you do a really bad person and do really bad things to good people, you should be put to death. Californians voted on it. And Gavin Newsom got in office and said, whether you like it or not, I don't like that. Because the liberal people that are contributing to me, who are rich liberals surrounded by guards, don't want me to do that. And so he dismantled basically stopped the death penalty in California. He overrode the rule of the people we voted on twice. That's what he's doing now. He keeps overriding, whether it's rent control, whatever it is, he's overriding what we voted on and trying to package it. So many people who are now blindly following his King Gavinness are falling for this. And circling back to Katie Porter here for a second, who I could say, as I thought a great line, the curtain has been pulled back. Here's your wizard. It's Katie, okay? Who basically said, I don't really give a damn what 60% of Californians think. You could say 40% voted for Trump. There's a lot of people who voted for somebody else. We got to discount them. I get it. Only 45% of registered voters, give or take, are Democrats. And some of them voted for Trump. So my point being, go ahead, Roxanne.
Well, she kind of let the cat out of the bag. One of the things that Republicans haven't caught up to, and even now that we realize that we don't necessarily have the money to do, is when we got railroaded into the top two instead of a traditional primary system where, oh, just, the top two vote getters win. Democrats, like Gavin Newsom, figured out pretty darn quickly how to game that system. You just look around, see who your weakest possible opponent in the general is, and then spend a mere fraction of your millions to advertise on Fox News the last weekend going into the election, and boom, there goes an unwinnable Democrat, an unwinnable Republican into the race, and you're done after the primary. And so she
But
let the cat out of the bag. She said she's going to be running against a Republican. She's going to make sure of that. Oh, really, Katie? Tell us more.
well, let's go to something that we're going to do that Gavin Newsom has caught on to. And I want to say that the Republican Party in Los Angeles is going to be doing this in the next week. Now, Scott,
Yes.
Kurt, Roxanne, have
Yes,
you
sir.
noticed? Have you noticed? And I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't talk about it much, but indeed, I do have family. And I got to be honest, great family, great people around me. I've got a lot of great friends. And I hear from them, if I'm lucky, once every 2 or 3 weeks. Roxanne, how often is your digital inbox filled with a message from Gavin Newsom these days? 30 times a day?
Ha! I don't check my email, so I have no idea.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
They've discovered digital, and we're going to be pushing out the Los Angeles Party. This is where we need your help. 1 million digital messages to those that don't watch shows like this, because this is the part that we're really trying to get across. Okay. Roxanne has done an amazing job. Well, not a big here networking tonight, but outside of that, she's done an amazing job of pushing out the message in every podcast, vodcast, little show, Fox TV, everywhere. But again, we have to get the undecided. And all the undecided have these devices in their hand. And many of them don't know what's wrong. Getting them to vote no on 50 and understanding, I'm not saying Republicans are the ultimate solution, but everybody goes, why should I register Republican? You know what my answer is, right, Roxanne? Well, how's it working out for you now? How's it working out for you now? Really? How's it working out?
Well, I always tell people they don't actually need to register Republican to vote for a Republican, but they should take a step to the right because we do have to bring our friends along gently, right? Some of them have been just identitarian Democrats. They can't imagine not being a Democrat. I say, fine, drop the D, take a step to the right and be NPP. But if you're NPP and you're actually, everyone knows you're a Republican because if you have an American flag, if you have a Tesla and you don't have an anti-Elon bumper sticker on it, people know. So you might as well take the final step. Come on over. The water's fine. Chips are on the table. Drinks are in the bar. We'd love to have you in the party.
Scott, send me that graphic, Willie. That one's going up as a post. Look, here's what I tell people. You don't even need to take a step to the right, but pay attention and take a step towards a normalcy. Okay?
Well,
I mean,
that's an important point. You win elections with the majority of all votes, not of committed political activists. And we need the votes of normal people. And normal people do not watch and obsess and read and follow and tweet. They just live their lives. I used to be a normal person, so I remember it fondly. So we're
I'm
able to
thinking
cut
that
through, and that's what
personally,
we're
I get what you're-
attempting to do with digital, with texting, with walking.
Okay, Roxanne, again, tell us what they can do. We thank you so much for coming on tonight. We got a few stories we're gonna go over here. We appreciate what you're doing. Again, Los Angeles County Republican Party, that's LAGOP.org. And I want to be perfectly clear on something. Don't vote LA Republicans, you'll get Louisiana. Okay, so LAGOP.org. Okay.
That's right.
Roxanne Ho,
ORG
thank you.
stands, is instead of a .com, and LA GOP is the grand old party, and we're putting the party back in the GOP.
That's right. And besides the Grand Old Party, by the way, we're not just the Grand Old Party, we're New Wave now. And for everyone out there, we're taking it back. Roxanne, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We appreciate you. Keep
Thanks, Roxanne.
the word and the heat up. Everybody, I'm going to let you finish your segment with what do you want everybody to do in the next less than 4 weeks?
In 25 days, I need you to turn in your ballot. You just color it in no, you stick it in the mail, you take it into a vote center. I don't care how, carrier pigeon, but do it now, because the sooner you do it, the cheaper it is for us to get the vote out, and the more overwhelming our lead will be. The other thing you need to do at lagop.org is you'll see upcoming elections and how to volunteer for Prop 50. Follow us on social media. Make sure whatever your platform of choice is, whether it's YouTube or Twitter, I refuse to call it X, or Facebook or Instagram, follow us, tag us. We have lots of cool, and I'll send them to Netter, lots of cool graphics you can use for No on 50. And come out with us this weekend. We have a calendar so you can find other friendly Republicans and you can go walk and knock on doors.
So for the first time in my 6-year radio and television career, I'm going to end the segment with no. Okay, Roxanne, thank you very much for coming on. Remember, it's a no that we want you to vote for. Thank you. We'll be talking to you soon. And again, for
Thanks,
everybody out
Roxanne.
there.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Okay, gents, again, no, no, no. I want to talk about something else, jump to before we get to your stories. And Kurt, I haven't had this discussion with you yet, but really chaps my hide. Okay.
What
And
do you
that
say to the
is-
40% of California voters who you
Yeah, let's go to this.
You want to watch this now?
Yeah, let's watch this now because we want to get this in. For those of you that haven't seen the Katie Porter segment, please make sure your kids are put in bed and bring it out maybe around Halloween to show them. Go ahead, Scott.
And it's about 3 minutes long, and it's worth the listen.
you'll need in order to win who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, man?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get
She looks
60%.
at her staff
Everybody who did
laughing.
not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
Like she can
So
help that.
how
Right?
do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an
But
experience.
you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel
you
like
need
this
them
is
to win.
unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
Correct. And I
argumentative.
said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And
Ask as they got it written, like she's approved the questions ahead of time. By the way, a sideways view of her is not very flattering.
we've also asked the other candidates, do
view
you
of
think
her
you
is
need any of
flattering.
those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Thank you.
She wants to quit. She's telling her staff,
You're not
"We're
going
yanking
to
the chain."
do the interview with us.
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
How
Every
dare
other
you.
candidate has answered
I don't
our
care.
follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And we're
Porter,
just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never had to do
reporter.
this before, ever.
You've never had to have a
end an
conversation
interview.
with
To end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make.
So you're not going to answer questions from
How
reporters?
dare you ask
Okay,
her a
why don't we go
question?
through? I will continue
Confront
to
her.
ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you. And I don't want this all on camera.
Too
I
late.
don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. And redistricting is a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just on the responses to that question. And I've asked everybody the same follow-up questions.
Yeah, too late. It was such a beautiful interview, don't you think?
I think the scary one that we can't play because it's full of cuss words by Katie Porter also came out a day later, resurfaced from 2021. Ooh.
I'm trying to find a good picture. I think this picture's the best because she's hiding behind a big board and you can't really see her. It took a big board to do it. She
The
likes
best
to
picture you
impress
could
people.
show of her would be from the movie Young Frankenstein of Frankenstein. Okay, that's the best we could do. Okay, it's the old saying: you can dress up a pig, and I'll let that line finish itself. Okay. The reality is another thing with Porter that came out, and she said huge staff turnover. And here's the bottom line, everybody. This shows the arrogance of Democrats. The arrogance of the Democrats behind the scenes, including Adam Schiff, who got elected, who could just lie, and many of their followers believe them because the press is training. We're not your enemy, everybody out there. We're all Californians, and if you look around, it's not working out. The video with Katie Porter that resurfaced from a couple years ago, Washington Post, and it got resurfaced again by Chris Calagalgo and Politico this week, and kudos to them, friends of mine in the press, showed a staffer, breaking into Porter's shot in an interview with, I believe, the Department of Energy or something. And Porter goes off on the staffer like, frankly, I wouldn't talk to anybody anywhere, with cuss words, etc., caught on camera. This is how unstable many of, including Newsom, this has been documented, many of the people are. And this is what they're trying to go, all of you out there, into being unstable too. Republicans, yeah, I agree. Vote in person, preferably earlier, but vote. That's Galino's trying to tell us. Vote. Just vote. If you can't get out and mail it in, vote. Vote in person, yes, but vote. Vote, 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 vote. We had Tom Baccaro on a couple of weeks ago. By the way, we've got Mark Moiser on next week. Vote. Low turnout is going to kill us, okay? Low turnout is going to kill us, et cetera, et cetera. Now,
On the other hand, low turnout can help us, right? If we get our butts up and go and vote, and the Democrats don't even know there's an election going on, we could slaughter them. We could send Sacramento and Newsom a huge message. But like you said, it requires us to get off our butts and get out there and vote.
yep, indeed. Okay. I want to cover one other story here as our time goes up, and then Kurt, have you roll some. It was, my God, what's the guy's name? Williams. Help me out here. Who just got sentenced this week? Okay.
Is that Neil Williams?
No, what's his name? Who just got sentenced this week? He was the assistant deputy mayor of Los Angeles. Somebody look up his first name. It was in Netter News this morning. I encourage you to subscribe. It's free. I try to put the stories in there. Comes out on Thursdays that the mainstream media tends to gloss over. And why Kurt and Scott look up that first name for me.
Yeah, Brian Williams.
Brian Williams, thank you. Brian Williams is a deputy mayor about a year ago, October. And right before the anniversary of Hamas invading Israel, was in an ongoing meeting as a matter of court record. I mean, it was a meeting which looked like took place every week. And this man, who had no history of mental illness, apparently planned to call in a bomb threat to himself using Google Phone to get out of this ongoing meeting. He got a light sentence the other day, which we're all ranting and raving about. But here's my question that should make you outraged. His main job in October 6th, I believe, of 2024 was the deputy mayor of Los Angeles for public safety. Yeah, hold on. It's a $500,000 a year job. What scared him in that meeting that he felt so obligated to plan to get out of what was being shown in those meetings? Now, unfortunately,
in other words, what did he know that we don't know that made him go wacko and give up his career?
I'll blow a gasket on this one because I think this is a pretty important subject. What did he know that was so important that he get the hell out?
Maybe he knew that, hey, the reservoirs are empty. Maybe he knew that they were purposely not preparing for wildfires, even though it was going into wildfire season. There's all sorts of things. I mean, that would, of course, mean that he would have had to have had a conscience, that he knew that they were not serving the public and that they could get in trouble and people could lose their lives over it. I'm not sure that he had a conscience. After all, he did call in a bomb threat.
Right.
I don't know, maybe the bomb threat's a symbolic thing, right? There's going to be an explosion.
The public should have a right to know. And because he pleaded guilty, yes, he got off with a light sentence. Yes, he got under sentenced. Understand that position was vacant. Some poor lackey, I'm going to say, was Bass's number 2 when she decided to fly an iguana because, hey, that's her job, right? When Los Angeles was burning. But to Kurt's point, it's laughable. He's the deputy mayor in charge of safety. But he found out something in those October meetings, a mere 3.5 months, little under 3.5 months. This is the guy they arrested the other day.
Yeah, this is the arsonist that they arrested.
The arsonist they arrested. But here's my question. What did the city know? I'm not going conspiracy theory here. I've talked to a few reporters on this week. I'm not going conspiracy theory. But I'm saying, who was in those meetings? What were they presenting that caused a guy with pretty much a cakewalk civil servant job, making probably $500,000 a year to decide to do that? The prosecution,
deputy mayor, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Okay, doesn't have to run for re-election, making a lot of money. He's a licensed attorney, obviously planned. For most of you out there, I don't know that if you were under a stressful moment, we've all been in stressful meeting. You get sick, you go to the bathroom, grandma died.
Yeah, but we don't call in bomb threats when a meeting is stressful, Mike.
And by the way, Kurt, you're pretty smart, to give you a little bit of credit. I know you especially wouldn't know how immediately to program Google Voice to call yourself in a disguised voice. That has to be planned. You have to learn how to do that. Okay. He planned this obviously ahead of time in these ongoing meetings. Everyone out there, what were the meetings about? now that he's pleaded guilty and gotten off with a light sentence, unless we, the public, ask a question, it does not fall under the Freedom of Information Act because staff meetings don't. I've got reporters jumping down on it. What were those meetings about?
Maybe he didn't like the color of the fire retardant they chose.
Might be, because it's red. There you go. Kurt, hit us with a few stories here. I know we've had a busy show. 5 minutes to go.
All right. Apparently, mayoral candidate Rick Caruso said he was told that homeless people who are encamping at the Sepulveda Basin in Encino have made booby traps and connected those booby traps with homemade bombs.
Interesting. I had not heard that.
What? They wanted to blow up firefighters or what?
Maybe they don't want to be removed from the area, but the floods will take care of that in the winter potentially.
One can hope.
But the important point here, Kurt, because we're going to roll through a few stories really quick, is if we know that, why aren't the people running the city stopping that? If Rick Caruso knows it and puts it out, it's not exactly classified information. Needs to be stopped. That's a good story, actually, Kurt. I hadn't heard. Hit me with another one. And
all right. The Trump administration has demanded that colleges comply with Title IX, federal law, right, to protect women's sports and women's opportunities. And Newsom has threatened to cut funding to USC if USC complies with Trump
any college
comply with federal law.
Any college that complies with federal law and violates California law, he's going to cut California funding.
Well, but the supremacy clause, the state, as we, like with the law Newsom signed to ban masks of ICE agents, the state of California doesn't get to regulate the federal government. We have a constitution. They're not allowed to do that.
So how come the U.S. attorney hasn't arrested Newsom?
That's a great question, Scott. I love that question.
I think it would be great. How many people would love that video clip? I think he would look good in orange.
Terrible. All right. So we have an insurance commissioner. We've talked about this before, who doesn't like to do his job or be in California. So he's taken 48 global trips. And Mike, why does the California insurance commissioner need to fly all over the country and all over the world on the taxpayer's nickel?
That's a really good question. It's been brought up a lot. Susan Crabtree got interviewed on that, and John Phillips. And again, this is something that should be a public misuse of funds. And of course, he's running for lieutenant governor now. That's another scandal that the mainstream press is covering up 90%. And since we have all Democratic majority, back to what we said, with arrogance, I have no idea why that's not really becoming a really bigger scandal than it is.
All right. And you heard that Gavin Newsom signed legislation to ban legislators from signing non-disclosure agreements so they can talk to donors about what kind of poison pills to put in legislation. So that's actually something that was bipartisan and is a good thing.
Yep, 100%. But why something else, by the way, to stop you for a second, Kurt, we got 2 minutes left. Something else that's bipartisan that he vetoed this week was what?
I'll take the bait. What was that, Mike?
It was raises for the firefighters. We talked about it.
Oh, that's terrible.
That was a nonpartisan, almost unanimous, that the Cal Fire firefighters who literally risked their lives to go out and fight the wildfires, like you see on the screen behind Ricardo Lara there. He turned down the raise because it would have cost about $250 million a year, which, by the way, is out of a $312 billion state budget, but has the money to put Prop 50 up for his power. This was a bipartisan bill. Both the Republicans and the Democrats wrote it together, and Gavin turned it down. And I want to stress, as I did at the beginning of the show, many Democrats in the groups that I'm in, coming out as a right-wing fascist, as they call me, which I'm not, don't seem to believe that's true. It is. And spread the word on that because it has bipartisan angst, including from the unions. Kurt, I'm going to have to stop you there. I'll let you roll down to the end here. We got a minute left to go.
Couple things. We've lost 20,000 fast food jobs in California because of the Democrats' minimum wage hike last year, which you talked about, Mike, and I told you so. You can take a pat on the back for predicting what was obvious.
100%. Kurt, thank you for the update. Scott, hit me and I'll go close it out.
Yeah, the closing message has to be is, we're all activists. We all need to be involved. California literally is burning to the ground. Unless we get up off our bed, off our sofas, and get out there and vote, we may as well be hiring a U-Haul and move out of California because these guys will burn it down. Because A, they want to burn it down. B, they're incompetent boobs. They can't help but let it burn down. But don't worry. Newsom wants to take it to the nation as your president in 4 years.
Well, that's what Prop 50 is about, Newsom running for president.
Here's the bottom line for everybody out there. Next week, we're going to have Mark Moiser on, one of the lead attorneys in the Dillon law firm, Harmeet Dillon, ring a bell, talking about the lawsuits that are being filed, which won't stop the election, but may change the outcome if it doesn't go our way.
Yeah, on Prop 50 you're talking about.
Each of you out there have things within your control. Yes, I see the comment, Newsom should be arrested. We don't do that. Many things should change that we don't do in our everyday lives. But what you do, what you can do, what you must do is have the ability to, one, spread the word about what's going on. Don't assume people do. Take this show, take every post that I put out that your fellow Republicans and other people put out and spread it around. Don't be afraid to send it to a Democrat. They're not afraid to take the state from you. And stop being afraid to vote and speak up. Because if you don't make your voice heard, they are going to muffle your voice forever and extinguish the light, which is our wonderful state of California. It's your state. Get out there, blast it everywhere you go. We are normal. We are conservative. It's our state, and no one anywhere is ever going to take it back from us. We are California Free Radio, and we'll be back at 6:30 next week, screaming loud and screaming proud. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Hey.